circling approach has become a filter through which I see, view, and do basically everything in my life now. So
Mm.
it's like we talked a lot before about like my relationship with my wife and how we communicate differently and how, going through and doing all the circling has been really helpful for the two of us. It's been really helpful at work where I get to like do it with clients and or just like take little skills and bits and pieces and like apply them to coworkers, clients, bosses, like all of that fun jazz. And then it's also with myself too, which has been really interesting. It's like the way in which I communicate and think with myself
Hmm.
has gotten really circly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So even your internal dialogue, and when you say it's gotten circly, what do you mean by that?
There's always a couple of voices going on, going on in the old noggin, that are having arguments and
Mhm.
going back and forth and round table discussions and all of that fun jazz.
Mhm.
But yeah, since I started circling, there's new parts that are there which are willing to just like sit, listen, and ask really deep questions.
Yeah.
And like they're trying to track patterns. They're trying to do all seven stages at the same time.
Mhm.
They're like some are off and they're exploring context. Some are like really sitting and dropping into sovereign and like making sure that me as a whole entity is like sitting as a unified thing as I move through my thoughts and feelings and everything. And
Nice.
so it's like as I'm sitting with myself, or like when I'm meditating or something along those lines, I feel unified.
Mhm.
And because I feel so unified with myself, I'm able to get way, way deeper into my head than I've ever been able to before. And that's been a really, really fruitful
Yeah.
area of exploration of late. So,
One of the things I pride myself in teaching and developing the circling approach most is it has such like inherent lack of judgment or
mm,
criticism in it. Like
mm,
because it is based in curiosity and wonderment and the idea that we don't assume we know what anything means, you know, um, that like I know when we do, you know, like a circle with someone else, we're suspending that judgment where, you're communicating with the intention to relate and you're
mm,
always asking yourself like, okay, how can I say this in a way that increases connection,
mm.
it damages or threatens the connection? And so when you say that like your internal dialogue is getting more circly, that was what I was like, wait, I need to know what that means because that was my hope for you of like, oh, does it mean it's getting less critical and less judgmental and even with your self-talk? Because sometimes we're our own worst enemy in our head when we're like, that's so stupid. Why would you do that? And if your self-talk or your internal dialogues is getting more circular, I imagine you'd be like, wait, why did you do that? Like
Mm.
what were you wanting when you like instead of like, why did you like not the critic like even if it's the same question, I'm like I was hopeful that there was like, oh yeah, there's this like, compassionate, curious kind of come from now that your inner voice has, as opposed to kind of like an inner critic. Your inner critic has now become an inner circler.
No, yeah, that's so accurate. It's yeah, like the way I relate to myself is so much kinder. It's like I'll be sitting there and like something difficult will come up, like some old memory or something along those lines, like a critical line of thinking.
Mhm.
And instead of just like going along with that, or like something uncomfortable coming up, and then going through all those defense mechanisms to like take that thing I don't want to look at and like really shove it deep into my psyche, it's like there's this structure I have with myself now, where I can sit there, get really comfortable sitting in the discomfort of whatever's showing up while also being really kind and curious towards everything that's around this like difficult set of stuff. And I can go through and actually start to process it and think about it and like not freak myself out, by like spending time with those difficult thoughts.
Mhm.
And at the end of the process, it's always just been like a tremendously healing experience. And that's probably something else that's been really crazy about going through and doing circling. Because like when I went into it, I thought it was primarily going to be like a relational tool. I
Mhm.
think it is still primarily a relational tool, like learning how to build those really good relationships with other people, how to communicate well.
Mhm.
But I think it was in one of the first sessions. And Guy, he was talking about um, some of these different aspects of circling and what doing it is like. And he said at some point that the circling approach presupposes that the world itself is set up in such a way that it's moving towards ever deepening healing.
Hmm.
And like when he said that, like that something about that really clicked. And it's been really, really true. It's like doing it with myself. It's like I can definitely see like that how I relate to myself is much, much, much more healthy than before. And then you get to do that with other people too. So I've never sat in a circle and like come out of it being like, oh yeah, we really screwed that person up just now. You know?
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but I'm also really happy to hear that you gleaned that insight.
Mm.
Yes, the circling is a relational toolkit, but it includes the relationship to yourself. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
relationship to yourself kind of presupposes how you are going to relate to anyone else.
Mm.
Because if you're still relating to yourself in a critical or judgmental manner, it's going to take effort not to relate to others like that. But if you can
Mm.
change your primary relationship with yourself, then it's almost effortless to give other people that same openness, same benefit of the doubt,
Mm.
same curiosity, you know, same listening for the deepest cut of their humanity, and viewing, every action, whether it's, misguided and tragic or right on target. Like we're recognizing that like our actions are just, desperate attempts to meet our very precious needs. And sometimes they go pear-shaped or sometimes they're off the mark. But if you can hold them like that, of like, oh, well, what was the underlying need that they were trying to meet with this
Mm.
phrase or action that rubbed me the wrong way? Like it's much easier to access that kindness that you spoke about, or the compassion, as um, as we talk about it. And I do think it begins with you. And so it's fun to
Yeah.
hear that you were like, oh yeah, I came here because I wanted to improve my relationships with others. And then I realized that it starts with improving my relationship to me.
Mm. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying to sit and like think back to how how I was before I started circling a lot. And it's such a wildly different person looking back on it. It's like it's almost hard to put myself back into that frame and to look at myself or like try to see the world in that way because there's so much curiosity I have towards that past version of myself that pops up right away. It's like I start wanting to be in better relationship with that version of myself.